Like, I didn't know what to expect when I got there. And the first day, they were running us around and yelling at us. And for me, it kind of changed the direction of my life. It just made me take control of my life.
I just had to create stories in my head to make me hit him. Like, I finally told a story about him not giving me autograph. That wasn't true.
David Robinson saying he hates someone sounds impossible. The Admiral never swore, never threw punches, never even raised his voice. But 5 players pushed him past his breaking point. Not through cheap shots or dirty plays, through something worse. They attacked what Robinson valued most: his control, his competence, his integrity. This wasn't loud hatred. This was quiet, personal, and earned. And it cost Robinson more than any loss ever could. Robinson entered the NBA in 1989 as a finished product. Naval Academy graduate, commissioned officer, devout Christian. He played piano. He spoke in complete sentences. He believed in sportsmanship. The league at that time ran on trash talk, flagrant fouls, and hyper-masculine aggression. Robinson was the opposite of everything the 90s demanded. Critics called him soft. Teammates questioned his fire. Opponents sensed weakness. But Robinson survived. He won championships, MVP awards, and kept his reputation intact. The cost was dealing with 5 men who made him feel things he never wanted to feel. Shaquille O'Neal, Hakeem Olajuwon, Dennis Rodman, Charles Barkley, Michael Jordan. Each one attacked a different piece of Robinson's identity. Each one forced him to defend himself in ways that violated his principles. This is how they broke him. Shaquille O'Neal spent nearly a decade trying to humiliate David Robinson. The intensity seemed bizarre. They were not division rivals. They had no playoff wars early on. Yet Shaq treated Robinson like a personal enemy. The reason, according to Shaq, was simple. When Shaq was a teenager in San Antonio, he saw Robinson and asked for an autograph. Robinson brushed him off, ignored him, made him feel small. That rejection became fuel. Shaq told teammates, told media, told anyone who would listen. He fabricated an entire revenge narrative. The problem is that it never happened. Shaq admitted years later that he made the whole story up. Robinson never snubbed him. They never even met during that time. Shaq invented the trauma because he needed it. Robinson was too nice, too polite, too respectful. Shaq could not summon the aggression required to destroy someone who offered no hostility. So Shaq created a lie. He turned routine games into personal vendettas. He convinced himself Robinson had wronged him. The media ate it up. Every matchup became a morality play. Robinson was cast as the villain in a story that never happened. The tension exploded on April 24th, 1994. Robinson and Shaq were locked in a race for the NBA scoring title. Going into the final day of the regular season, Shaq held a razor-thin lead. The Spurs faced the Clippers. San Antonio coach John Lucas orchestrated the entire game around Robinson. Robinson played 44 minutes. He took 41 shots. He scored 71 points. It was one of the greatest individual performances in NBA history. Robinson broke every offensive record the Spurs had. He hit mid-range jumpers. He dunked with authority. He dominated the free throw line. The performance was surgical. It was also controversial. Shaq finished his game against the Nets with 32 points. When the final numbers came in, Robinson won the scoring title. Robinson averaged 29.8 points per game. Shaq averaged 29.3. Shaq and his camp exploded. They called it stat padding. They accused the Spurs of manipulation. They said Robinson stole the title. For Robinson, the 71-point game was validation of his dominance. For Shaq, it was theft. The animosity deepened. Shaq never let it go. Robinson hated dealing with Shaq because it forced him into a narrative he never wanted. Robinson preferred to let his game speak. He did not want drama. He did not want media wars. But Shaq made silence impossible. Every interview became a defense of his integrity. Every game became a test of his manhood. The exhaustion of that conflict wore on Robinson. It was not just the physical toll of guarding the most dominant center in basketball. It was the constant irritation of Shaq's personality, the trash talk, the media manipulation, the relentless psychological warfare. Robinson survived it, but he never forgot it. If you're watching this, you already know how brutal these rivalries were. But do yourself a favor, hit that subscribe button, because we're just getting started, and drop a comment. Do you think Shaq was justified in targeting Robinson, or was the whole feud built on lies? Hakeem Olajuwon is the rivalry Robinson never talks about willingly, because it represents his greatest professional failure. The 1994 to 1995 season was Robinson's masterpiece. He led the Spurs to a 62-20 record. He was named NBA MVP. The trophy presentation happened at the Alamodome right before Game 2 of the Western Conference Finals. The opponent was Hakeem Olajuwon and the Houston Rockets. Hakeem, the reigning MVP from 1994 and the defending champion, watched Robinson receive the the trophy. Hakeem took it as disrespect. He decided to make Robinson pay. What followed was one of the most one-sided individual matchups in playoff history. Hakeem did not just outscore Robinson, he confused him. Robinson was known for his athleticism and speed. Hakeem baited him into jumping with the dream shake, a series of fakes, pivots, and spins that left defenders helpless. Robinson tried everything. He adjusted his positioning. He altered his timing. Nothing worked. Hakeem countered every move Robinson made. Robinson admitted later that playing against Hakeem meant being at your absolute best or facing embarrassment. Robinson faced embarrassment. The statistics tell a brutal story. Robinson averaged 23.8 points, 11.3 rebounds, 2.1 blocks, and 2.2 steals. Those are all-star numbers, but Hakeem averaged 35.3 points, 12.5 rebounds, 4.2 blocks, and shot 56% from the field. Hakeem played at a level Robinson could not reach. The Rockets swept the Spurs. Robinson's MVP season ended in humiliation. Robinson hated this matchup because it made him feel powerless. He could not stop Hakeem. He could not even slow him down. Every possession was a lesson in technical superiority. Robinson relied on athleticism. Hakeem relied on skill. Skill won. But there was another layer to Robinson's hatred, one that made the series even more painful. Dennis Rodman, Robinson's own teammate. Rodman was supposed to help double-team Hakeem. In standard defensive schemes, when a center like Hakeem received the ball in the post, the power forward rotated over to force the ball out. Rodman refused. He stayed attached to his own man. He prioritized his rebounding numbers over team defense. He engaged in silent protest against Spurs management. Footage from the series shows Hakeem spinning past Robinson while Rodman stands feet away, watching. Robinson was fighting a two-front war, one against the most skilled center in history, another against the insurrection in his own locker room. That betrayal made the Olajuwon rivalry particularly bitter. Dennis Rodman is the only name on Robinson's list who represents genuine interpersonal incompatibility. The other rivalries were forged against opponents. The conflict with Rodman was a civil war fought inside the Spurs locker room and practice facility between 1993 and 1995. Robinson was the embodiment of structure, Naval Academy graduate, man of faith, believer in hierarchy, punctuality, and the concept of being a role model. Rodman was the agent of chaos, dyed hair and constantly shifting patterns, frequented late-night clubs, defied authority, viewed basketball as a solitary act of rebounding, and defense performed amidst a team setting. Robinson described Rodman as a unique cat and an energizer bunny on the court. He acknowledged Rodman's supernatural athletic gifts. Off the court, Robinson found Rodman destructive to a team perspective. Robinson believed a leader needs to ask how to help each teammate. Rodman was not that guy. Rodman's disdain for Robinson was rooted in lack of respect for Robinson's nice guy persona. Rodman believed Robinson lacked the grit necessary to win a championship. He viewed Robinson's religious attempts to save him or bring him into the fold as intrusive and naive. The hatred Robinson felt for Rodman was fueled by daily violations of professional code. Rodman frequently showed up late to practice or missed team functions entirely. For Robinson, who viewed preparation as a moral imperative, this was unforgivable. Rodman would be out riding his motorcycle when the Spurs needed him most. Robinson admitted that while he loved Rodman's talent, they had to go different directions because Rodman did not fit their culture. The animosity culminated in the 1995 Western Conference Finals. Robinson felt that Rodman quit on the team. By refusing to follow the defensive game plan against Olajuwon, Rodman effectively sabotaged Robinson's MVP season. This betrayal cut deeper than any trash talk from Shaq or Jordan. When the Spurs traded Rodman to the Chicago Bulls for Will Perdue, Robinson was relieved. He understood that addition by subtraction was necessary. This relationship highlights the limits of Robinson's leadership style. Robinson could lead men who wanted to be led. He could not tame a wild element like Rodman. That failure haunted Robinson. It contributed to the hatred he lists. It was hatred of his own inability to bridge that chasm. Robinson was a gentleman trying to survive in an era that punished gentlemen. Rodman proved that moral authority does not always translate to control over subordinates. Robinson learned that lesson the hard way. Charles Barkley appears on Robinson's list as the physical and philosophical antithesis to Robinson's finesse and morality. The rivalry with Barkley was a grind in the truest sense of the word. Robinson stood 7 feet 1 inch with the physique of a Greek statue. Barkley was listed at 6 feet 6 inches, but likely shorter. Yet Barkley possessed the round mound of rebound strength that allowed him to move mountains. Robinson hated guarding Barkley because Barkley was relentless. Barkley used his low center of gravity to dislodge the taller Robinson from the block. While Robinson relied on length and agility, Barkley Barkley relied on brute force and leverage. The constant elbows, the shoving, the borderline fouls made 48 minutes against Barkley feel like a combat sport. Beyond the physical court, Barkley and Robinson engaged in a silent debate regarding the responsibility of the black athlete. Barkley famously declared he was not a role model, arguing that athletes should not be parents to the nation's children. Robinson lived his life specifically to be a role model. He founded the Carver Academy. He tithed his income. He spoke openly about his duty to the community. Barkley often mocked players like Robinson for being too nice. Robinson refused to yield, stating it was more important that he was respected as a man. The rivalry was heated because Barkley's Phoenix Suns were often the barrier the Spurs failed to cross in the playoffs. Most notably the 1993 playoffs, where Barkley, the MVP that year, eliminated the Spurs. Robinson's inclusion of Barkley on his hate list is recognition of Barkley's ability to get under his skin. Barkley was loud, brash, and unapologetic, traits that Robinson suppressed in himself. Barkley represented the ID to Robinson's superego. Michael Jordan was not a positional rival. He was a psychological predator who taught Robinson the cruel realities of NBA mental warfare. The origin of this dynamic traces back to 1988. Robinson, still in the Navy but playing in an exhibition game against NBA stars, approached Jordan with the wide-eyed enthusiasm of a fan. Robinson shook Jordan's hand and said it was a pleasure to meet him. Jordan did not reciprocate the warmth. Instead, he looked at Robinson and said he was going to dunk on him. Jordan said he dunked on all the other big fellas and Robinson was next. Robinson was stunned. He thought Jordan did not know him. How was Jordan talking trash to him? Robinson vowed to knock Jordan down if he tried it. Later in the game, Jordan drove the lane. Robinson went for the block. Jordan dunked it. As he ran back, Jordan tapped Robinson and said he told him he would get him one day. Robinson cites this moment not just as a rivalry memory, but as an awakening. He realized that for Jordan, the game began before the tip-off. There was no advantage to Jordan trash-talking a rookie in an exhibition game, other than to establish permanent psychological dominance. Robinson also learned that engaging Jordan verbally was a mistake. In one instance, Robinson tried to trash-talk Jordan. He described it as a decision he instantly regretted. Jordan's game elevated when he felt challenged. Robinson realized that the only way to play Jordan was to stay silent and hope he did not take a personal interest in destroying you. Robinson hated Jordan in the way a soldier hates a sniper. It was fear and respect for a capability that Robinson did not possess, the ability to be ruthlessly, sociopathically competitive. Robinson played for joy and duty. Jordan played for conquest. Which rivalry surprised you the most? Drop a comment and let me know. And does Robinson get enough respect historically? Because his legacy is built on surviving these wars. Robinson's list of hated players offers a roadmap to the challenges he faced in the 1990s. Each rival challenged a different aspect of his identity. Shaquille O'Neal challenged his narrative control. Shaq proved that lies and charisma could overshadow truth and decorum. Hakeem Olajuwon challenged his competence. The Dream showed Robinson that athleticism alone was not enough against supreme technical skill. Dennis Rodman challenged his leadership. Rodman proved that moral authority does not always translate to control over subordinates. Charles Barkley challenged his physicality. Barkley tested Robinson's ability to endure pain and relentless aggression. Michael Jordan challenged his psychology. Jordan introduced Robinson to the dark arts of mental domination. Robinson survived these rivalries. He retired with 2 NBA championships, an MVP trophy, his reputation intact. But the depth of his feelings toward these 5 men reveals the toll of that survival. In the golden era of the NBA, being a gentleman was not a shield. It was a target. The hatred Robinson describes is the scar tissue from a decade of defending that target against the greatest players the world has ever seen. Robinson proved you can win without compromising your values, but you cannot win without paying the price, and Robinson paid it in full.